It's always a good time when old Pokemon get new evolutions, and in today's video we're going to be looking at 8 old Pokemon and seeing what they would look like if they got brand new evolutions in Gen 10, but with a twist. Each of these evolutions will be in some way related to the Dragon type. Ooh, fancy. As for their designs, all these evolutions were created by the amazing artist Andu Region. So if you've been a fan of these types of videos, then do yourself a favor and check out the artist. I'll post their links in the pinned comments down below. And if you enjoy and want more of these themed evolution videos, well then let's see if we can hit a like goal of 365 likes. But that's enough of that. Time to sit back, get cozy, and get ready to be amazed with these brand new Pokemon evolutions. Starting with everyone's favorite whimsical dragon, Drampa's new evolution, Drampledge, the psychic dragon type Millennium Pokemon, which I for one would be beyond excited for if it got a new evolution in Gen 10. I mean, what's not to love about this guy? And the newly acquired psychic typing is such a nice touch if I do say so myself. But how would you evolve this guy? Well, thanks to a special item known as the Dragon Stone, all you gotta do is give the stone and voila, you've got a newly evolved Drampledge. Here's what I think the stone would look like, considering there are more Pokemon in today's video that will be using the same evolution method. As for its abilities, they stay pretty much the same except for one, where Drampledge has a new signature ability known as Psychosis, which works exactly the same as Pixelate, but for the psychic type. Now, as for Drampledge itself, it's said that it has lived for a millennia, reflecting its wisdom and all of its vast experiences and knowledge through its beard. Can't you tell? Look how long, soft, and white that beard is. But how does a Drampledge live so long? Well, legend has it that it was a promise made between a Drampa and his young trainer to live together forever. And unfortunately, the trainer could not fulfill that promise. However, Drampa sought to fulfill that promise itself. I, for one, love the idea, and I feel like it could totally fit in the Pokemon world. But man, its stats are kinda nuts. I mean, look at the whopping special attack stat. Jeez. I mean, even though it's slower than a snail, it's still got some decent range with special moves like Draco Meteor and Future Sight. All in all, I'm a huge fan of this design, but what do you guys think? Moving on to our next Pokemon evolution, and it's for this little guy, Heliolisk. Now, what would happen if you gave it a Dragon Stone? Well, then you'd have yourself a Heliozard, the electric dragon type generator Pokemon, and man, is this thing tall. I really love the subtle color tones in both the shiny and original design, but there's something really cool about this Pokemon that I have to share with you guys. You see, when Heliozard is in battle, they change into their attack form, where they have a second set of fins that resemble a pair of dragon wings. And although they aren't used for flying, they are definitely used to intimidate their opponents, which is why it's got some new abilities like Intimidate and Sand Force. As for its stats, it's got some pretty decent bulk to go along with that speed, and its special attack make it great when using moves like Parabolic Charge and Dragon Pulse. But I would definitely be a huge fan if our good old pal Heliolisk did in fact get a brand new evolution in the upcoming Pokemon games. Now let's check out a Generation 1 Pokemon that could totally rock a new evolution, and that's Arbok. But what happens when you give an Arbok a Dragon Stone? Well, it evolves into a Silasab, the poison dragon type Basilisk Pokemon, and the K in its name is silent, but it's also Basilisk backwards, just like the previous naming theme for this entire line. Upon evolving, it does lose a bit of speed, but makes up for that with the attack and special defense. It's also said that Silasab paralyzed their opponents with its menacing appearance, often rendering them completely helpless before it attacks. But that could be seen as a mercy, because legend also has it that if you stare a little too long at a Silasab, well then you would turn straight to stone. Some scary stuff over here, that's for sure. It's also insanely large and has access to some strong moves like Dragon Tail and Outrage. But what I think makes this Pokemon so good is its abilities. It drops the Shed Skin and Unnerve ability to pick up rough skin and strong jaws. Definitely an improvement in my book. Next up is another fan favorite, and that's Tropius. However, this Pokemon doesn't evolve using a Dragon Stone, and instead evolves after your Tropius defeats 20 Dragon-type Pokemon. Introducing Dracopius, the Grass Dragon-type Fruit Dragon Pokemon. I mean, just look at that mane, full of ripe bananas. This is literally the best visualization I have ever seen for a Tropius Evo, and man do I want one on my team. These Pokemon are also known as Protectors of the Jungle, and And when this Pokemon touches the ground, beautiful flowers and fruit trees will grow even if the ground isn't fertile. I guess you could say they've got the green thumb. Its abilities stay the same except for the newly acquired Grassy Surge, which works extremely well considering it does learn the move Grassy Slide, which is further boosted when you realize its speed stat is almost non-existent, but all its other stats are pretty well off. So Grassy Surge and Grassy Slide is kinda cracked on this Pokemon, but it's definitely one of my favorite Dragon-type Evos in today's video, that's for sure. But what do you guys think? Moving on to another Pokemon you've never thought needed an Evo, and that's Sandslash. Now, what happens when your Sandslash defeats 20 Dragon-type Pokemon? Well, it evolves into Sandslayer, the ground Dragon-type pangolin Pokemon. And this Pokemon is so freaking strong. Takes a decent ground type from Gen 1 and instantly makes it one of the most threatening ground types you could ever imagine. It's said that Sandslayer's armor is made up of scales of all the dragons it defeated along its journey to become stronger. Oh yeah, and it also forged a sword with those same scales to help boost its range of attack. And speaking of attack, check out those stats. Holy crap, it's super defensive too. Yeah, this Pokemon was made for competitive battling, that's for sure. It also learns moves like Drill Run and Body Press, which as you can imagine would do insane work to any enemy. And it's got the abilities Battle Armor and Sand Rush, so what's not to love about this guy? Next up is a Pokemon who was actually just teased and introduced to Pokemon Unite, and that's Phalanx. But is it actually one Pokemon or is it like 5? I guess, does that count as 5 new Evos? Man, I don't know, but what I do know is if you defeat 20 Dragon-type Pokemon, well then these little guys evolve into these bigger guys. Meet Falong, the fighting Steel-type Dragon Hunter Pokemon. Yeah, I know it doesn't have the Dragon type, but I'm still throwing it in here mainly because of its evolution requirements, and because it's so freaking cool. Now, as for the story behind these tough guys, one of them is recognized as their leader and emperor, and it guides the other 5 with an iron fist into battle. And if it sees even one of its soldiers hesitating in battle, well then that's where Falong will use its whips to motivate them for combat. Yeah, these guys are no joke. Oh yeah, and their stats are also pretty strong in the physical side, and its speed can be further enhanced with its ability Weak Armor. It's also got the hidden ability Defiant, which could be a really menacing ability when used competitively. But man, do I not want to run into these guys in a dark alley, that's for sure. And now the next Pokemon that evolves after taking on 20 Dragon-type Pokemon is the Pokemon that should have been part Dragon-type since it was first released, and that's Yanmega. Introducing Yanmax, the bug Dragon-type Dragonfly Pokemon. But is that its head or is that its butt? Either way, Yanmax doesn't fly very high due to their dragon-shaped skull on their tail, used to scare away possible threats. But that's not all it could do. It can also produce a ton of powerful blasts. Things like Solar Beam, Dark Pulse, and even Dragon Pulse, which is further enhanced by not only its stats, but also its hidden ability Mega Launcher. Man, this bug-type Pokemon stocks just went way up in competitive usage for this one, that's for sure. However, it is super frail, so a nice gust of wind could technically knock it out. But that's also why its speed is so damn high. Plus, don't forget about the thing's speed boost. Just a single Protect and now it could potentially sweep an entire team. And now finally, our last Pokemon is a Gen 4 native who just never got the love it truly deserved, and that's Carnivine. Now, if you trade a Carnivine while it's holding the item Dragonfang, well then you get a brand new Omnivine, the Grass Dragon type Dragonvine Pokemon. And just look at that shiny. I mean, absolute perfection. Its stats also make it quite the competitive Pokemon, even with the ridiculously low speed. But Trick Room, anyone? It's also said that Omnivine attracts its prey with a sweet aroma before swallowing them whole. It can also digest anything it sinks its large teeth into. And you thought Carnivine was terrifying enough. Its evolution, Omnivine uses its many appendages to move through treetops and drop in on unsuspecting prey. Definitely an apex predator of the jungle. Its ability changes from Levitate to a brand new signature ability known as Omnivorous, where it doubles the damage dealt by draining moves and recovers an extra 30% HP from all draining moves and items, including things like Leech Seed and Leftovers, which is why this Pokemon would be an absolute menace in competitive, that's for sure. But what do you guys think? I for one loved each of these Pokemon designs, and could totally see a series here on the channel in the future showcasing new Pokemon evolutions based on a specific theme of sorts. But that's a wrap. And if you guys enjoyed it, then consider subscribing and hitting that like goal, and check out some of my other videos on the channel. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching, check out this video next, and see you soon. Bye.